And then when I get into chapter 7, then it produces a freedom from condemnation. And that's just an amazing thing where you start looking at this law, and then we recognize that there's no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. So as we look to this, it's important to kind of see where we're going as we dive into this one section that we're in here. Now our study. Romans chapter 5, verse 12. I think it's interesting to think that as we're looking at this continues this mind-blowing understanding of just what justification provides. Now, we've looked at what it produces is the path for the believer, peace, God's act of love, and now we're seeing that here there was a pattern that we looked at last week when it comes to what it produces. We saw two verses last week, verses 9 and 10. Remember how verse 9 opened up, and much more than. We saw, in case you're not overwhelmed and in awe and just worshiping God, and much more, now have been justified, we're going to be saved from wrath. And then just as that wasn't enough, then in verse 10, he goes on and says, for if we were enemies, we were reconciled to God through the death of the Son, much more, having been reconciled, will be saved by his life. So all this much more, there was just crescendoing of everything that this justification produces for us. And now I want to just kind of jump ahead because we're going to be looking at verse 15. And in verse 15 it says, but the free gift is not like the offense, for if by one man's offense many died, much more. Do you understand? He wants you to be overwhelmed. He wants you to be in awe. Verse 17, for if by one man's offense death reigned, through the one much more those who receive the abundance of grace will reign in life. And so you note this is it's greater and it's greater and it's greater. Verse 20, moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound, but where sin abounded, grace abounded much more. Do you understand that Paul, in writing this, is trying to get your heart to crescendo joy, to crescendo worship? He's showing you again and again, here's the thing, and it's not just this, but it's much more. Understand that he's trying to get us excited about what this justification produces in us. And in this point, he says, I want you to be understanding the peace. I want you to be excited about the love, but even more excited that what? You have life. You have eternal life with God.